Hello and welcome to part 2 of Oryx Deku. Now, we left off right before the 10 months training arc. And, uh, yeah, they were, Deku, his sisters, and the entirety of the Midoriya Shimura family had just had a talk with All Might about what's going on in the hero world and how the villains are being more organized. Now we skip to the beach cleaning area, well, the 10 months training. We would start with the siblings going to the beach. All Might said we were supposed to meet here. Izumi, do you see him? No, brother. But, I do see a car pulling up. Ooh, maybe it's him. Maybe, but let's be cautious. We don't want another sludge villain type incident happening, do we? No. No, we don't. And then All Might would get out of the car. And he would have the big three with him. All Might, who are they? Oh, these three? These are the big three of UA High. All Might, are these the people that we're supposed to meet? Yes, are they? Tamaki would just curl up in a ball. And Nejire would go to comfort him. Because in this universe, they are dating. And Nejire is a lot more calm. And doesn't ask as many questions as she does in canon. But she does still ask them. She just learned to slow down with the words. And, yeah. She would just calm Tamaki down and then ask the three for their quirks and, what they can do to make All Might of all people want to train them. And they'd get their answer. And they would be surprised at how stupidly overpowered their quirks are. And that in their prime, they could, let's just say, if they were to be villains, Earth would not be safe. And, yeah. They would begin cleaning up the beach. This would take a lot less time than in canon. In canon, Deku was barely able to clean up the beach in time for the UA entrance exam. In this universe, let's just say half the time. Yeah, no, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Half the fucking time. Yeah. It would take 5 months to clean up the beach. They would spend the rest of the 5 months until the UA entrance exam finding out more abilities of their quirks. For example, considering, Izumi is the more cunning of the three, she found out that she can make illusions of herself and other people. And that scared everyone. She was also very adept at spinning a web of lies. And she came up with the idea of Izumi and Izula going into the more vigilante and villain field to spy on the underworld. And this would be commissioned by All Might and Eraserhead, because he would come on by when All Might is training them, and he would agree with it, saying that if we're able to find out what's going on in our little realm with what's going on with the villains, then this would be perfect. Because then they'd be able to know what the hell is going on. Of course, Izumi and Izula wouldn't kill them, really. It would be more or less the Izumi making an illusion, and Izula going on a rampage and killing them. Now this would make Izula feel a bit, she'd feel bad, even though she knows that they're not the actual people. It's still people. Of course, she would never be as strong as her older sister and her older brother, but still, considering that all three of them have a quirk connected to death, it makes them feel kind of bad. Makes them feel like they wouldn't be able to be true heroes, but All Might and Razorhead would quickly nip that at the bud. Telling them that, yeah, no, they can be heroes. But let's take a look at Endeavor. Even though we all know he's going to end up being the real villain of the story, but let's ignore that for now. I'll talk about that later on in the video. Yeah, no, their training would be going quite well. And they'd be being watched by a certain, family. That would be the Todorokis. If you haven't watched part 1 and caught what was going on with the Todoroki family, I advise you go do that now, because I'm about to spoil it. Yeah, no, the entirety of the Todoroki family minus Endeavor became actual villains. Oh, they more fit the role of vigilantes, but the HPSC doesn't really see it that way. Especially considering they had to try and silence Lady Nagant, but failed. And she is still out and about, and she teamed up with the Todorokis. Yeah, a lot of things change. But yeah, the world is not black and white, it's gray. All Might is among the truest of heroes, along with Eraserhead. Considering that All Might does not like the fame he's getting, or that people have started to say, oh yeah, he is a good, no, the press that he's getting. He doesn't like that he has to deal with the press. He'd much rather save lives than have to get bogged down with the press and paperwork. He hates it. But he has to deal with it because that's what being the number one hero means. And because of this, he has Eraserhead's respect in canon. More than in canon. Yeah. The 10 months training goes by. They are about at, let's just say, a quarter of the strength of Oryx, Savathun, and Zivurath. Because if I were to put them at full strength now, that would be bad writing. On top of that, it'd make this series extremely boring. So they'll get full power maybe during the war arc. Maybe during the war arc. Maybe a bit earlier. But we'll get into that later. Now, let's cut back to the Todoroki family. Let's go all the way back to when Enji decided to be a little bitch because he thought he could never surpass All Might, which he never fucking will. Let's be honest. He will never be near his strength. And, let's just say Enji was the cause of his father's death. You know, he got his own father killed. And his mother doesn't know about that. And, yeah, Tekka Todoroki will be a thing in here. But let's just say when she finds out what Enji's done, she's not gonna be too happy. So yeah, Enji bought Rei and basically raped her. Yeah, no, this is the darker bit of this episode. Yeah, no, he basically bought her and damn near stripped her of all her basic human rights. She was only allowed food and water, and she was not allowed outside of the compound. She was not allowed outside of the Todoroki compound. None of them were, because Enji knew if they were to try and flag down someone like Eraserhead or All Might or let's see, Vlad King, Midnight, Present Mike, God forbid they managed to flag down his mother, tell him about all the shit that he's done. They get homeschooled. The kids get homeschooled by Rei, and all the kids know how much of a shitbag Endeavor is. Not even Fuyumi would be able to see his redemption. Let's just say he's so bad, not even Inko would be able to say something nice about him. Yeah, no, the only reason why he's number 2 is because of all the villains he's been able to take down. And that he's been able to cover up all the villains he's either killed or has sold, or the people he's sold, or the corpses that he's sold. Along with all the innocents that he's killed. He's managed to cover all that up somehow. Because he's the number 2 hero and is the HPSC's attack dog. They send him after anyone who's gone rogue. And they know they can't touch Eraserhead and his group and All Might. But everyone else is fair game. Damn near all the underground heroes are untouchable. All the teachers at UA are untouchable because they're all underground heroes and the truest heroes that you'll ever find. Yeah. They're all fucking bad. The Todoroki family, consisting of Rei, Toya, Natsuo, Fuyumi, and Shoto, would all become villains. Shoto would stay at the Todoroki residence as undercover, while the others of the Todoroki family would fake their deaths. In the middle school time, Shoto would be allowed outside the compound. Now, he has left with the Todoroki family. He just went back over after time. So that way he'd know where their base of operations is. And if what I saw in the manga is correct, Toya was picked up by All For One and his whole group and taken to his little operation. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. He just set the entire uh, forest on fire, and also have a massive ice spike there, making Enji think, oh, they're dead. Good riddance. Now I can just focus on Shoto without any of those distractions and failures. Yeah, no, Enji's a sadistic son of a bitch. Shoto's training is a lot worse than in canon. Let's just say broken bones, and he has a lot more scars from his training. He has burned scars on his left and frostbite on his right, if I can remember what he looks like exactly, because I don't really have a picture of him right now. Yeah, no, he has fire burns on his fire side and frost burns on his ice side. And he's taken up the villain named Frostburn whenever he goes out. And they go out and basically do things like Stain. They're known as the Hero Killer family. And, well, let's cut back to the Midoriyas. That's all you need to know about the Todorokis as of now. The Midoriya family, more specifically the Midoriya children, are currently out spending time with their cousin. Again, check part 1. Things will make a lot more sense if you do. Now they're out spending time with their cousin when they stumble across a less than pleasant sight. They stumble across the burned bodies of villains, and Endeavor's right there. Now, he would try to buy their silence. They're the only witnesses there. And Enji knows damn well he cannot touch the Dust Hero, because he knows if he tries to, he'll invoke the wrath of not only the Shimuras, but the Midoriyas as well. And just the name Shimura makes Enji quake in fear. He knows of Nana Shimura. He knows that she trained All Might. And he knows that that family, if touched, will invoke the wrath of every true hero around. He will be a worldwide wanted man, and he does not want that. He knows if he tries to do anything, then Stars and Stripes herself will show up, and he is nowhere near strong enough to fight her. So he just tries to buy their silence. And they make it seem like it worked. But that's just adding fuel to the fire, no pun intended, of the hatred that the siblings have for him. They already didn't like Endeavor. It's because of his mannerisms. But when they found out that he is not only just an ill-tempered man, but a murderer as well? Let's just say their hatred for him was through the roof. Through the roof. Well, NG believes he's bought their silence for now. That'll come back and bite him in the ass later. There will be no Endeavor redemption arc. Not with this what if. Now, after that happened, they see someone on a roof. She looks like Tomura's old crush. But it couldn't be. She was announced dead after being called a traitor to Hero Society. 'Cause after Lady Nagant disappeared, she was completely off the grid. No one even knew if she was around anymore. So she was just declared dead. So, when Tenko saw her, he was surprised, to say the least. He saw someone he thought dead. Someone he loved. So, he ran after her. But he wouldn't make it obvious that someone was there. None of them would. Because Endeavor's still in the area. And if he sees what they see, then any chances of getting answers are shot. So, considering Izumi can fly, because Hive Wizard, or Izuku can fly because, fucking wings, bitch. Izuku picks up Tenko and flies off, and Izumi picks up Izula and flies off. They erase their presence completely, so that way no one, not even people with sensory quirks, can find them. And they basically surround her. Lady Nagant is surrounded by four of the most powerful people as of right now. And they ask, "Why did you leave us?" Lady Nagant was surprised. She didn't expect to see the person she loved and his cousins anytime soon, especially not with what the HPSC said about her. They wanted answers, and they were going to get them. They asked. She answered. She found out the corrupt doings of HPSC and how they're basically funding some of the organized crime, and how they're the whole reason that All for One's still alive. He would get arrested. He couldn't get arrested. 'Cause if he was, then the HPSC would basically make his escape and basically pay for his release. and make it look like he escaped. So the only way to get rid of All for One is to kill him. So the 10 months training and everything that happened in between came and went. They knew of the whole Todoroki, the Midoriyas knew of the whole Todoroki family incident, and had a newfound hatred for him. But they'd let the devil get his due. He always does. And NG will get his. Let's just say what I'm about to do to him in the future, that will make even the darkest of stories and darkest of tortures and things that have happened to people look like nothing. But let's cut to the entrance exam. Izumi and Izula are off on their missions. Sanctioned by Nezu. So the HPSC can't do shit to them. They can't stop them from finding their plans if they do. Izumi is off doing more vigilante stuff, if anything. And Izula is playing villain, let's just say. And she makes All for One look like a child. But all the people that she's killed, they were all the not so good people. All the criminals that were let back out onto the streets. All the child abusers. The child rapists, the child experimenters. Not Overhaul yet. No, I have something special planned for him. But no, all the small-time child experimenters, like, they're testing drugs on them and experimenting drugs on them. And a lot of those kids, they were basically begging for death. They didn't want to live anymore. They had lost that will. So she always left them with a knife. And they took their own lives. As sad as it may seem. It's something that should be talked about. I do not condone any of these acts that are being mentioned. But on the side, she has been finding the two sisters of Izuku have been coming around doing acts of charity anonymously, and have been talking down, let's just say, people who have had the not-so-good life. Those who have tried to commit toaster bath, to put it lightly. And they have talked them down. Now, if you are having suicidal thoughts, if you are having some trouble at home, anything of the sort, I encourage you to get help. Because I can guarantee it, there's at least one person out there that would love to see you smile. And would love for you to be, well, you. No matter how crazy or weird or strange you may be from the norm, there's someone out there that would love to see you smile. So, let's get back to the what if. Ezekiel is at the entrance exam, and he'd see Katsuki. And him and all his cockiness would say, "What? You come here to die? Come here to join your sisters?" And it would take everything Ezekiel had to not shove Willbreaker up his ass and just leave it there. It would take everything. And he would just say, "Oh, I don't know, Katsuki. You come here to die? 'Cause your attacks didn't hurt us one bit. At least your physical ones. But I will tell you this. You try any of the shit here that you did in middle school, then I will kill you. And I don't care about the repercussions. You will go to hell. You will not be able to be a hero. And I will make sure of that." Then they'd go in. Now, Izuku being... well, let's just say he's a whole lot smarter in this. He had more time to study for the entrance exam, so... yeah, written portion, aced it. He took #1 spot. He fixed anything that needed corrections, because if we know Nezu, we know that he made some mistakes in there purposefully. Yeah. He corrected everything. He did it all right. He got 100%. He turned it in. And then we go to the practical explanation. And just before Present Mike gets to the 0 pointer, you know him, you hate him at this point during the anime. It's Tenya Ida. And he interrupts Present Mike, saying, "If this is how Yue is gonna do anything, I am disappointed. Why haven't you explained the 4th robot yet? And you, with the 3 eyes. What are you doing here? This is not a place for villains. Leave. Now." And Izuku, having had it up to the roof with Bakugo's shit, gets pushed over with Ida's shit. So he basically body flickers to him and slams his head on the ground and just says, "Okay, I am having a really bad day because I ran into the bastard that damn near raped my sisters. And I will say this once. The quirk does not make the hero. The hero makes the quirk. Now, if you're done with your bullshit, Present Mike was about to explain the 4th robot. So shut up, sit down, and don't say a word, or else you'll find out why no one, save for one person, decided to play fuck around and find out in middle school." And he'd let him go. He'd go back to his seat, apologize for his outburst, and sit down and listen to Present Mike talk. He'd explain the 0 pointer, and then he'd go on to the actual robots portion. Izuku would make his way to the front, not caring if anyone tried to stop him. He'd stand at the front, and so that way when the gates opened, he'd be the first one in. Ira had tried to stop him. He didn't learn his lesson yet, but he will. Oh, he will. And they'd go into the area. The doors would start to open, and Izuku would go in, not waiting for a countdown. Ida and a large majority of the attempted student populace would say, "Hey, wait, he's cheating. He didn't wait for the countdown." Present Mike would say this: "Well, I'm sorry. I didn't think villains understand the concept of standard fighting. They don't give a damn. But if for a countdown, they're just gonna be wreaking havoc, and they won't give a damn. So I suggest you get going before that man hogs all the points, and you have to wait for the makeup exam." And that would get all of them going. But by then, Izuku had wiped out half of the robots. But he'd feel merciful. He'd stop. He'd go up to a roof, and he'd just watch. If someone was in trouble, he'd go in and save them, and destroy the robot, giving him hero points. And he'd do that for the rest of the exam. Until the 0 pointer shows up. Now, the 0 pointer is the only pointer robot that really intrigued him and that he would make into a Taken. So when the 0 pointer showed up, Izuku jumped off of a roof and landed right in front of it. And he would put his hand out, and a blackish, bluish glow would come off of it. This would catch this would catch everyone's attention. Not just the examinees, but the heroes in the booth. They'd be surprised at what that glow did. That glow shot out of his hand, hit the 0 pointer, and the 0 pointer would take on that same glow. It would stop. Nezu would try to do something with the controls, trying to make it go back. Anything, really. And it wouldn't respond. He tried to make it return to base, kind of thing. Sometimes, so that way it would return to its charging station or wherever it goes, where it's stored, and it would just disappear. It would look like it collapsed in on itself, and it'd disappear. And Izuku would then go up to 5 of each of the pointer robots that aren't a 0 pointer, and he would take them. And instead of them being filled with non-lethal stuff, they now have lethal rounds. Yeah. That's gonna come in. They're all gonna come in handy come the USJ incident. Now, with that over and done with, the exam would stop. They'd all. Anyone who needed it to get healed would get healed. And everyone would go home. Everyone would go home.